this fence right here is, I guess I can use my pointer, can I? Whoops. This fence right here is, going down the center of my farm. I got an 80-acre piece here. And I got a water line running all the way down the center fence. And then what I do, I got a 50-foot hose here. And what I do is I move this to each new paddock every time we move. That way they're not trailing back for water and doing, making water trails, and then they're not going back on the forage they were on the day before. So that really helps with the daily moves quite a bit. Having portable water is a big deal when you want to. Yes.
So, where's your farm located?
North of Wadena.
Okay. How far north?
I'm like 5 miles out of Wadena. Yep.
So your soil type then is?
Sand.
Yeah.
You can probably guess that looking at the picture, yeah.
It's right by Kent Solberg, pretty much.
Yeah, you know Kent Solberg? I'm 3 miles west of Kent Solberg, so yeah, just lousy. If anybody doesn't know, right around like north of Wadena, north of Ferndale is basically an old river bottom, so it's just basically pure sand. You can look at the soil maps, it's all well drained loam, sandy loam. It's really lousy, so it's a tough go. But the portable water, that's a big deal for daily moves. And then the temporary fencing, I got my 4-wheeler sent up. I use geared reels here, and then they step-in posts. And so what I do is I just hook onto the fence with the poly braid here, run it out, throw the posts out, and set a new paddock every day. It takes like 15 minutes to set up a new fence. And then, so these animals, they know what's going on. So as soon as they see this 4-wheeler coming out into the pasture, they know what's happening. So they start bunching up toward the gate, and they're ready to go. This is a very important tool for managing your pasture right here. It allows you to do quite a bit. Once you get your animals adjusted to it, single hot wire. I've got sheep and cattle together, and I'm running a single hot wire 10 inches off the ground, and that's enough to hold them in each day.
Sheep challenges with fences in the winter at all, or?
In the wintertime?
Yeah.
In the wintertime, we don't fence. We use the snow to our advantage, and we unroll hay, which I'll show you a little later. We unroll hay in a different spot each day, so they're not in their manure every day, and then I can target where the fertility's going each day.
George, you might appreciate if you stand back just a little bit.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Do you move fence in the morning or night?
Usually in the evening. I have a kind of full-time job I take care of, and then this is my evening. So a lot of times it's getting dark when I'm doing this, and that's fine. It doesn't take very long, so as long as you can get a few minutes to kind of eyeball everything, make sure everybody's doing good, it's not so bad.
Are you lambing on pasture?
Yes, yep, lambing and calving on pasture, yep. Yeah, we do that. This year lambing should start mid-May, and calving should be anywhere from mid-May to June. I think we put the bulls in 3rd or last week of July this year. I have to look back and make sure, but yeah. Any more questions on temp fencing? Okay. And monitor your animal performance and your pasture conditions. Check for room and fill. Does everybody know what room and fill is? So there's a spot. I'll go to the next. Oops, sorry. There's a spot right here, right in front of the pin bones right here. This is where the rumen's located. And when you're checking, you want to make sure that's all filled up. If there's a triangle shaped dent right here, that means they're limited. That means they didn't get enough forage that day. So you want to keep an eye on that, and then you want to keep an eye on the length of your grass here, which there really isn't much grass there at all. But you don't want to overgraze, which I did this year, so if you can keep your grass looking good, and then you can continue to fill your rumen, that's kind of how you decide your paddock size. So if you've given them enough, that'll be all full and your grass will look decent. But if you didn't give them enough, that'll be sunk in, they'll be balling at you, and your grass will be all on the ground. So it's important to monitor. It's really important to monitor your animal's condition each day. That's why it's a good thing to do daily moves can get an eye on them every day. I know there's these wireless collars coming out. I'm really highly against those, because that's taking your observation skills right out of the equation. I think you're better off going out there each day if you want to do something like that. But that's just my opinion. So you know what this is. There's some more pictures of condition in the middle of summer. Plan ahead for resilient pastures. This is in September. This is the end of September. We got 2 inches of rain, and we grew like 4 inches of grass in a couple days. So what I did is I started unrolling hay and giving them smaller paddocks to help let the grass grow. That was kind of a strategy of mine. I ended up getting one more round out of the farm last fall by doing this, because I was able to hold them back enough to get the grass going, and I was able to move them slow enough to let the grass continue growing. But yeah, we want to maintain good condition throughout the year. Yeah, in the wintertime, deposit carbon and fertility. This is a picture of a lease farm we have. So like I said, in the wintertime, we don't use fences. We just unroll in a different spot each day, and then the cat, that's where they go. There's no reason for them to go anywhere else, because there's nothing for them. Putting all the hay out on the ground and letting them do that, it's doing a few things. Putting the hay down on the ground is building a carbon mat on the ground to maintain moisture in the soil, and also give food to the creatures that live in the soil, like the worms and stuff like that. And then it also gets your fertility spread out on your pastures instead of having them up in a lot for the wintertime. Then you gotta spread manure. This way, all the manure is spread already. It's done. What I say, unrolled hay helps retain moisture and feeds the biology below the soil. This is just a few weeks ago before we got the snow, and you can see the different rows of hay we got here, different stages of it. This stuff was rolled out earlier, so it's a lot more broke down. The cattle trample on it and break it up really good with their hooves. And then there's just, as we go, they slowly trample it into the ground, and that's what we're looking for, is the trampling effect to break the hay up and get it available for the worms and other life in the soil. There's another picture of sheep and pasture there. There's no grass, so if I would have been able to grow some stockpile last year, I feel like it would have been necessary to fence them during the winter here. But we didn't grow any stockpile, so there wasn't anything to protect, so I've just been running them like this. In the springtime though, like mid-April, early May, once the grass starts sprouting up, you want to start controlling them so they're not running out and pruning that fresh grass off. You want to give that as much opportunity to start growing up as possible. Plan to adapt and be willing to change your strategy. All 3 of these pictures are from the same week. I'll show you where we're at right here. We're right here. That's D3 extreme drought. I think it was worse than that, honestly, because we only got 4 inches of rain. I honestly think last year's drought was worse than in 21 when we actually had a D4. But you can see the condition on these animals here, and you can see the grass or lack thereof. But this is a result of intensive management, moving them, monitoring them, adapting to what's going on. Oh, we're already at the end there. There's just a picture of them moving. You can see once they do it enough, it's not a problem at all. They just do it.
So a question on your grazing the sheep and with the cows, do you notice a big difference in plant selection when they're grazing?
I believe you get a more even graze. The cattle mostly want to go after the grasses. The sheep tend to like a lot of broadleaf plants and woodies. they're also very proficient grass grazers as well. I
So,
know.
do you have a ratio, what you like, or?
No, I don't. I'm just trying to get animal impact right now. My goal is to get, what I'd like to do is get between 30 and 50 pairs and have about 100 ewes all the time. This is like 60 ewes and some of their lambs out here right now. And then we've got like 28 head of cattle out right now. There's not as many in this picture. We added some heifers last fall.
Seen you had a guardian dog out there too.
Two of them, yep. We got
Two of
two
them?
guard dogs, yep.
Pretty effective.
Very effective, yep. Yep, no predator issues as of yet, so, yeah. But, going back to the sheep and cattle together, some people like to say you can add a sheep for every cow you have in your herd, and that's completely wrong. You would definitely notice it if you add 50 sheep and 50 cows, you will definitely notice. They will eat your pastures down. So a good rule of thumb is one. If you're gonna do 1-to-1, you actually want to do less than that. They say 5 ewes to 1 cow for consumption, but I feel like it's more like 2 or 3 ewes per cow for consumption to be safe.
How many acres do you have?
Fence right now, we have 135 fence, and we're working on fencing another 160 for this coming season here.
How many animal units does that figure out to be?
What I got total?
Yeah.
So 28 and then 60, so that's like 30, that's like 40 total animal units.
40 animal units on 130 acres.
Yeah. Well, last year we only had 100 acres fenced, so it was like 40 units on 100 acres with 4 inches of rain. So, yeah, the pasture looks like crap, but there's no rain. We didn't get more than a half inch at a time.
No supplemental feeding then?
No supplements. That's another thing I forgot to tell you. In the wintertime, there's no lick tubs.
But when you on the pasture, you didn't feed any extra
no.
hay, that was all just?
No hay till the last week of September.
Okay.
So, that's when I had to start feeding, because I could have kept them on the grass, but it would have just stunted it more for this year, so I wanted to do something to mitigate that.
How about the animal health being on the pasture? Is it?
Oh yeah, it's great. I mean, there's no vaccinations, we don't do any doctorings, no worming. Sheep don't get wormed. There's 3 sheep out here that have been wormed, and that was in the spring of 2019. That's the last time those 3 sheep got wormed. Everything else has not been wormed. And if you keep moving them, you don't have any. That's another thing with keeping your grass high too. All the parasites live down on the ground. So if you're grazing down on the ground, you're automatically going to pick up parasites. If you keep them up a foot above the ground, it's a lot less likely to pick up parasites.
So have you, grazed heavily wooded ground at all?
I've got a couple spots. Well, at home, yeah, I've got a 40-acre piece at home too that I have bulls and rams on, and yeah, they were basically in the woods all last summer, and they did pretty well. I ran them pretty hard until the end of fall. They just ran out of forage, but I mean, they did good. No, they did all right.
So have you used the sheep for brush control at all, or?
I have a little bit, like at home when we first started. I started working on the fence line. I would run netting around the brush and run them in there, and they were very good at denuding all the brush. They're not probably not quite as proficient as a goat, but they're quite a bit easier to handle than a goat.
So then you have wool sheep, look like?
I got like 3 wool sheep in there. So what happened is in 2019, we got our first livestock, 6 bottle lambs. And we have 3 remaining from them original 6. So that's why they're out there. They're pets. And one of them is my lead ewe, which is amazing because she leads the whole everything through the gate. It helps a lot having a lead animal if you're doing this.
What sheep breed are you using?
Running St. Croix, Katahdin Cross. Picked the St. Croix for parasite resistance. They're highly resistant to parasites, and they have a pretty decent sized body on them, so you do get a good carcass. But mostly, yeah, and then they're hair sheep, so no shearing. no hoof trimming, no grain, no. It checked all the no boxes basically. That's low input is another thing to stress big time. Is keep your inputs super low if you want to be profitable. You got to keep your inputs as low as possible.
So what kind of a marketing program do you use for your livestock?
Well, right now I have been selling a little bit of seed stock, and that's just kind of word of mouth. I have been trying to figure out what to do with all the rams. So far, I've been eating most of them because they're delicious. But I'm thinking either I'd like to find a direct market for the meat, but if I got to, I'll just start taking them to the sale barn. Sheep are doing really well at the sale barn right now. Even just running sale barn numbers, they do very, very well. So if you even just wanted to do a commercial herd and just sell everything at the sale barn, you can do pretty well doing that.
Is there a particular kind of cow you look for in your pasture?
Yeah, I'm going after this kind right here. If I had 100 of these, I could quit pouring concrete. You want short legs, fine bones, good udder, highly efficient. She's probably about 900 pounds. We're looking for cows that are between 800 and 1,000 pounds. You can run more of them on the same amount of ground as you can a 1,500 pound cow. And they'll give you a third more calves because they're only. The saying is a 1,500 pound cow, two 1,500 pound cows will consume the same amount as three 1,000 pound cows. Once the three 1,000 pounds calve, you have 3 calves to take to the sale. And they have smaller calves, and at the sale barn, smaller weight cattle bring more money per pound. But they're very efficient. You want to be able to have them make it on grass. You want them to look like that on just grass alone, and be able to do it on crummy forage like this. So then when you get into some good forage, you can tighten them down and really put the impact down for the soil health. The biggest thing is trying to get impact down, but when you're in a drought, you can't tighten them up like that because they'll take it to the dirt. They'll knock everything down to the dirt, and then when you don't get rain, it won't come back. But ideally, in a raining situation, you tighten them way up, let them trample it all to the ground, and then it comes back a lot. Something about the hooves of the animals on the ground that stimulates it. Part of the original design, I guess. Way beyond my comprehension, but it seems to work.
So any other fertility inputs besides cattle and forage?
Nope. Just, where did that go? Yeah, I should have used a different color. I don't know if you guys can see that up there. Whoops. It says, with animal performance, you can't go broke. And that's this guy rancher from South Africa, Ian Mitchell-Ennis. He's going back to that fertility thing. He says, don't spend your money on anything but carbon and cows. That's where that can keep your inputs low. But yeah, the thing about animal performance, if you've got animal performance, you've got something. If you got a bunch of skinny cows and no grass, you don't have much. So, yeah, keeping the animal performance up is a high priority at our farm. So, a few things to.
Have you noticed anything with the resiliency of your land with doing adaptive grazing and fertility?
Well, we've added animals every year since we had the D4 drought in 21. We had, I think, I want to say like 17. No, we had like 15 ewes and 2 rams and 2 Jersey heifers out there. That fall we added 3 pairs and a bull. And we've just been adding animals every year since. So, I mean, on the same piece of land, as crummy as it's been in the drought, we've been increasing our capacity each year, even though we haven't had any rain. So I'm looking forward to getting a little more moisture to see how much harder we can push it. So, in the future, hoping I can get it stocked up pretty good. That's another thing, is if you can do that high stocking density like that, you can get more forage growing, and then another thing that Ian says if you can triple your stocking rate, then you can sell at below market and you don't have to ever worry about it. You make a profit every year, just by management. A lot of this stuff can be solved by just management alone, without any inputs.
So as far as your pasture health, when you started in 2019, were the pastures pretty healthy to start with? Or
No.
They're pretty rough?
No, bare sand everywhere.
I mean, have you
40
seen a
acres
pretty
making hay,
noticeable
wasn't
increase?
What's that?
It was 40 acres making hay when you took it over, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just, it was hay ground before, they just hayed it off just before we bought it, so. They took all the carbon off and we were left with stubble, so.
Have you planted anything, or
No,
has
no
diversity's
planting.
been just natural from
I'm
what
just
they?
trying to do it all with the animals, trying to keep all the inputs low and.
So you
go
can
up.
buy all your hay?
Yep, buy all my hay in, yep.
Looking for anything special when you're buying hay, or?
Just decent grass hay, just from somebody that does a good job putting it up. I got a dairy farmer not too far from me, he's really good at making hay, and I just buy all my hay from him. He's got all the right equipment to do it all, and he hauls it to my farm for me, and
Yeah.
does a great job, so. I don't need to buy all that equipment there.
Right.
What,
I have no inkling to sit on a tractor, that's like a prison sentence for me.
what kind of equipment do you have?
I have, well, that four-wheeler I showed you, and then in the wintertime, I've got a, I think it might be in that picture.
The bale on roller and.
I got a bale unroller. Oh, going ahead here. Got a bale unroller, and then I got a Suzuki Sidekick that I use mostly yeah, it's not on there. I got a Suzuki Sidekick that I use mostly like in weather like this, and then I bought a Geo tractor with tracks on it last fall because I thought it was gonna snow this winter. So I got that out yesterday so I could drive through the drifts. But yeah, that's all I got. I don't have a tractor. I have a Bobcat that I have for my concrete business, and I only use that to get hay out like once every week or so. So I'm not firing up a diesel tractor and doing all that. I just got little gas engines and zipping around. I'm trying to keep everything as low cost as possible.
You done any soil testing?
No, I haven't. I probably should, but I don't know. If it looks good above ground, it should look good below ground. I don't know.
So have you paid attention to your aggregation or any of that
No.
structure?
No, I'll be real honest. This is, in the summertime, if I've got 2 hours to come out here, I'm doing good. Because I'm running a 5-man crew all day, every day, and doing jobs all over the place. So, I mean, I'm pretty limited on the time I get to spend on this. I wish I could spend more time. Sabrina?
You don't use any kind of like sacrificial areas, you're
Nope,
just.
no
you're
sacrifice
really-
lot, always out in the pasture. Yep,
Do you think you would ever have to get to that point?
nope. The goal is to never get to that point. Never have a sacrifice lot. Yep, yep. Yeah, that's the goal, is to keep them on the land all the time.
Do you have wind breaks there for when the weather moves in? Do they move
Yeah,
towards
like,
that?
like up here last winter, when it was nasty, they spent most of the winter up here. And I would unroll hay in a different spot each day so they weren't in the manure. And you should see the grass up here now. That looked pretty decent last fall, Bob. That was probably the best spot on the whole farm. We had a grazing school last fall, and yeah, it was pitiful. It was second week of September, and it looked about like this, except for no hay. And then, where'd that other picture go? Let's see. And then here, this is the new lease farm we just got on in January, and this has got a really nice windbreak. That's where they are right now too. And this is a super nice windbreak. That's facing straight north there, and then over to the west, there's a huge grove of trees, and there's basically no wind right there. It's a really nice spot for them.
How many acres can you cover with hay unrolling throughout the winter?
Oh, I've probably got nearly 100 acres covered right now. Yep.
Over the course of how much time?
Since October. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, this is the earliest I've fed hay. I tried to hold off last year and I lost animal performance and I ended up losing an animal. And told myself this past fall I'm not going to do that again. I don't care about bragging about how light I raised. I'd rather have healthy animals, so I started feeding hay earlier.
How many bales of hay per cow get through the winter?
Let's see, I think I bought about 280 bales or something like that. And I've probably got like 40 or 50 left right now. And I'm not real good at keeping track of stuff like that. I'm a visual thinker. I look, and if it looks good, it is good. And if it doesn't look good, then I change something. So maybe in the future I'll get better at keeping records. Right now it's not there.
How about water in the winter? Any issues there?
Water in the winter, oh man, yeah, I should take a picture of that. Well, what I did is I built myself a winter water, because that's the biggest hang up in the winter is having water for them, so you can do stuff like this. Well, I have a water out in my pasture that I built, and I took a 20-foot culvert, cut it in half, so it's 10 feet long, it's 24-inch diameter, and I buried it down in the ground. I think it's 8 feet down in the ground. And then I have a water trough sitting inside of that. And then I have my water line coming in a drain tile from my well house up into that tube. So all the ground heat keeps that heated from underneath. And I have a Job Megaflow valve in that trough. And so the bottom of the tank and the valve stay thawed out. And I just end up getting a skim of ice over top each night. Well, I go out there every day, so I just break the ice off in the morning, and then they got water all day. And they do walk. I mean, they're walking over a quarter mile from this spot to the water. And they do it. The sheep, they eat snow. Whenever there's snow, I never see them go up to the water trough. But the winter water is a big deal, and it's really inexpensive. I think into the drain tile, the water line, and the tube, I think I have like $1,500 into the water. But I have water every day. It's priceless, really.
Do you provide any shade in the summer for the sheep?
It's just the brush that's in the paddocks. This next season coming up, I've got a lot more trees on the new farm. But I have some, put them in shade before. When I had less cattle, I had a shade mobile kind that I drug around. But that thing will get wrecked by the bulls, so I don't bring that out anymore. And they seem to do okay. I mean, it gets really hot, but I'll try to put them in a paddock where they've got at least some brush or something they can, I have got a few paddocks that have nothing. So they seem to do all right.
So then is that, do you have a fence around the whole perimeter then?
Yeah, so then we have a 5-strand perimeter fence around the whole thing. 5 strands for the sheep, so they don't get out. And you just have one fence down the center. It's another thing when you're doing the cross fencing, you want to set up your interior fences so they're not hampering you. If you put up a bunch of permanent paddocks inside your perimeter, you're kind of handicapped by where they are, and you can't change your direction, you can't change your shapes as easily. So what I got is, I've just got the 80 fence, it's a rectangle 80, and then I got one fence right down the center of it where my water line runs, and then that's where I hook my poly off of that, and then I can do a circuit around the farm that way. So
Your perimeter fence is 5 electric?
5 hots, yep. And then we're running all non-conductive posts, so we don't have to worry about shorts and all that stuff. So.
Do you have any gate in your dividing fence?
Nope, just one on each end. Yeah, I do one on each end, yep. Not in the middle.
Well, vegetation control on your perimeter fence, how do you do that?
Burns off with the heat. The heat of the charger burns out. I got a 48 dual charger on my fence.
Oh.
So any grass blade that touches that's gonna die.
Yeah.
And keep your fence on all the time, that's the other thing with weed suppression. Don't shut your fence off. I mean, yeah, to work on it, but not for an extended period of time.
Right.
Keep it on so it's burning that vegetation.
Just curious, what is that 48 dual fence across?
It's around $2,000. But I had a lot of Reed's Canary loaded up on my fence, and it wasn't hitting very well, so I was like, I had to boost the power up a little
Right.
bit.
How long have you run that?
2 years now I've had that.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it, yeah. If you're over by it and it's hitting, it sounds like you're taking a ball peen hammer against a piece of steel. That's how hard it hits. It's loud. Yeah. They don't, the cattle they don't test the fence.
Right.
They don't go anywhere near it. My neighbor asked me if I needed dogs to make my fence work, because he never sees my cattle by the fence ever. Yeah. Anything else?
You noticed your twinning percentage with the sheep go up and down depending on your management, or do you?
The which
watch
percentage?
Your twinning percentage, how many of them have twins?
No. I know that last year I lambed a little later than I wanted to, and I think that the heat had an effect on their mothering. Not exactly the birthing, but their mothering. I think the heat stressed the ewes out. I lost a few lambs last year due to that. I don't know what happened. It was really hot in June, so it just didn't work. So I put the rams in 2 weeks earlier this year to try to catch that last cycle in December. So hopefully mid-May we'll be having lambs this year. But no, as far as putting them on pasture, it just seems like they're all healthier. Just everything's healthy, everything's clean, everything's doing quite a bit better. No coughing and hacking, sicknesses like that.
So do you have storm shelter available, or?
Nope.
Or shelter for lambing if it is,
Nope, that's why we like the lamb later. Yep. Yeah, no barns. I have a shed, but it's full of concrete equipment. So. Yeah. No, the goal is to never have them in a barn, never have them up in a lot. Just have
How,
them.
on your lambs, how long do you keep them before you sell them?
So the ewe lambs, we sold them all in September last year. So that'd been like 4 months old.
How heavy were they then?
I couldn't tell you. This year I will be able to. I got a sheep chute with a scale on it this year, so I'll be able to do some measurements on them, at least be able to have an idea, some kind of metrics to go by.
What made you get into cattle and sheep?
Oh, watching YouTube, of course. Like, I wanted to for a long time. I wanted to have clean meat to eat. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be able to have a piece of meat that I know where it come from and know that it's going to be good. So I was watching YouTube, and I saw this guy named Greg Judy, and he was talking about these low input sheep, and he had me at no. So I got some rams from him and bought some ewes, and then bought up, and I ended up buying some cattle from him and stuff too. So I don't know, I just caught the bug, and I don't have any hobbies at all. I don't hunt, fish, nothing. I just work. So this has been my hobby that I have, and I want to make it my business in a few years. So just trying to work towards that. Yeah. Yep.
What are some of the enjoyable things that you get from this?
From this, just going out there and being out there, just standing there, listening to the birds chirp, watching them fly around, eat bugs, listening to the rip. Relaxing. It's peaceful. I'd lay out there all day, and watch that and listen to that. It's like serenity. It's really nice. Yeah, I enjoy it quite a bit. Wish I could spend more time doing it. So that's the goal.
Awesome. Alrighty, well, if there's no more questions, we'll take a little break here and we'll get ready to set Bob up.
All right, well, thanks a lot.
All right, give George a round of applause here.
Yeah, thanks, George.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Here we go. Add it in there. I tried to hitch my